Hi, welcome to Leap Taken. This is Mika, and here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. So today's topic's going to be a little bit heavier, guys. I'm going to talk about death, more, more so about the afterlife, and where do we go when we die? I understand that Kobe Bryant has passed on, and I know in the witchy community there is a lot of discussion about that. It's kind of calmed down a little bit now, but there was initially a lot of people really, I don't know, talking about reaching out to his spirit and all that sort of stuff, and a lot of that is just scammy stuff. So I didn't really believe it, but I do think whether you believe it or not, or whether I believe that these people really had communication with a spirit, I think that's just why you didn't know them. What are you doing? I just think that's, I don't know, bad witchy etiquette. I don't know. And then to go on social media and say so, people are ridiculous. Anyway, just know that this video had been planned ahead of time. Before that happened, I am an obsessive planner, so I plan out my video content weeks, if not month in advance. I make changes depending on what's going on or if I no longer care about that topic, but this is something I sort of wanted to talk about anyway. So I just wanted to kind of say that, I'm not jumping on that. That did not inspire this video, although it really did make me think a little bit more about some of the content that I would be talking about, but I'll get to that momentarily. I'm going to start off by saying technically no one knows. Oh, sorry. I should have known to put my phone on vibrate. I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, nobody really knows for sure what happens when we die. Think about it. Nobody knows. We can talk about it. I can talk about it. We can do that, but no one knows for sure. Even people say they've had near-death experiences or they've died and they've been, brought back, resuscitated, or whatever. I think there's levels to death. I don't know the process of what your spirit, how it transcends, in my opinion. So I don't even know if I buy. Maybe they got level one, and yeah, okay, so that's level one. There's so much more. I don't know, but I just don't believe that anyone can definitively tell me what happens. Anybody living can tell me that, right? So I start this video off by saying that. So take what I say and what I think with a grain of salt because I can't prove it. But here's what's important. It's not about me trying to convince anybody what I think it is, and you should believe it too. If you take anything from this video, is learn to come up with a concept you're comfortable with. It makes life easier because we all will pass on, and it just, for me, coming to terms with what I believe for me to be true, or really any of us, but what concept can I buy into, and then just live the rest of my life knowing, okay, well that's how it'll end, and I'm comfortable with it. For me, I've been able to do that. I honestly think living a healthy life, mind, body, holistic life, mind, body, soul, is part of that is reconciling your thoughts on what happens when you die. And by the way, if part of you reconciling it is, I don't know and I'm comfortable not knowing, that's okay too. That's okay too. Here's a couple things I do want to say. I don't believe it, meaning our lives, is all over when we die. I don't think that's true. I don't think that it all just stops. That's it. Whatever it is, our being, our essence, our soul, spirit. No, I don't think it's over. So that's what. Let me just be clear on that. I've communicated with those who have passed on. So my ideas on that is I believe there's more. That's how I was able to reconcile. There were things that were said to me, or communicated to me. Let me be clear. Communicated to me that makes sense. For me to understand, which is all that matters. And I knew who I was talking to and who they represented. They were able to tell me that. So or communicate that. So there you go. I believe there's more. I do. I really do. What that looks like, I don't think it matters to me to know all of those details. Um, I don't think I should try to apply earthly, material mindset or, um, like capitalism. I don't think, streets of gold and virgins and all this crap. I don't think all of that is happening. I don't think flesh is in the afterlife. So that's the other part. Um, my own intuition has guided me to believe there's more than nothingness. Again, just a quick thing. I'm a strong believer in intuition, intuitiveness, your gut, that gut feeling. That's not just something about, that comes in play when you're making a decision, left or right. Follow your gut. Yeah, that's true also. But it's more than that. It's also learning to listen to those little whispers. That's the inner you. By the way, that's the part I think that does actually transcend your soul, your higher self. Um, that part that whispers to you, whispers to your consciousness, to believe something, the part that makes something a pill, the pill easy to swallow, meaning whatever spiritual system or path or journey that you're on, the thing that makes you want to know more, not because it's cool or it's trendy, but because there's something there that's resonating deep within you, that deep higher self part of you. Um, that intuition, that part of myself, that higher self, has guided me and has exposed me to those who have passed, to my ancestors, and to just spirits. So, yeah, and those that have passed on. And I've trusted in practical parts of my life. So, and I trusted in my spiritual parts of my life as well. So, it, it's hard for me, with everything I've seen and experienced, it's hard for me to believe there's absolutely nothing once we die. Then there's the popular thought on afterlife. If you're Wiccan, there's Summerlin. Christian, there's heaven and hell. And I'm not sure what Muslims, if it's, I think it's a version, of a heaven, if I understand. I'm not sure. And then, of course, I know there's purgatory and reincarnation. So, when I was Wiccan, I never could buy into the concept of summer, the Summerland. It's supposed to be endless summer. What if I love winter? But anyway, no, I wanted to believe that. But mind you, when I was Wiccan, when I referred to myself as Wiccan, right, I couldn't even get in the concept of the goddess. I know why now, because I was getting books and I was reading about the goddesses they would talk about in those books, and I had absolutely no connection. It just felt like material in a book. It felt like a history class or mythology. It didn't seem real to me. So I never went down the path of going into goddess worship or reverence or anything like that, or God, the horned God, and all that. They were concepts to me. They were, like I said, it was like I was in school again and I was just studying material. It wasn't actually something I applied to my life. Um, the Summerlin was part of that, full disclosure. So anyway, heaven and hell is something I believed in because I was raised Christian. So yeah, I believed in heaven and I believed in hell. I used to be obsessed with the book of Revelations when I was younger. Um, obsessed. There was the thing, I probably used to read these passages over and over again about, what is it, triple-headed beast coming out of the ocean, the waters. It's been a long time, but I used to read this all the time with the details. Part of me, it was like reading to me horror, but it was very entertaining at the time. And I just wanted to I used to try to picture in my head what that would look like. And like, is this real? And basically I didn't want to read all the other stuff in the Bible. I just wanted to get to the end and find out what happened and, how it's all going to go. And the concept of fire and, anyway, I was really caught up in that. It's funny because my daughter, she's a little bit like that. Not about the Bible, but she's one of those people where if you tell her, oh well, we moved to Florida from New Jersey many years ago. She was a little girl. She discovered hurricanes. She became obsessed. Every time she went to the library, she would check out many books on hurricanes, the history of the hurricanes. She was in elementary school. She studied hurricanes, and what was just the worst. Well, it was bad all around, but Hurricane Katrina happened. That's when we moved to Florida. So that was '05. Um, this she was crying, like upset, freaking out about what was happening, and is this going to happen to us here in Florida? Anyway, she's what I made a mini me because I was very much like that, and I would read these things and I would ask, is this really going to happen, or is the whole earth going to set on fire? Well, how do I know if I'm going to go to heaven? I need to be sure. How am I? I was really freaking out. I used to freak out about this. Like, this was going on for a period of time where I was really concerned about this heaven hell thing. So yeah, I believed in it. Um, Purgatory, it wasn't part of my religious system. I, so I didn't know much about that, only from others who talk about that. But yeah, it's just not something I even really fully comprehend. If I understand enough about it, something like it's the place you go to sort of absolve your sins and wait for judgment. So yeah, um, yeah, I don't think I can fully embrace that. But I don't have to, right? And then reincarnation. Reincarnation is something I believe is true. I do. I believe in reincarnation. I don't know how it works, who's picking who, and what form you come back in. If you come back as, an animal, a plant, a fish, dirt, I don't know. I don't know, but um, I'm I'm willing to accept it. I can reconcile that for myself. Um, yeah, I'm comfortable believing with reincarnation. I've heard a lot of stories, and if are a student of history, people have written about experiences and things like that, and it does really make you wonder, and is that possible? I think it's possible. Now, for me, when reconciling death or afterlife, you have to be comfortable with the unknown. You have to kind of just let it settle in and don't let fear get in the way. The fear is going to come up. What if you can there's no way for you to answer that question. There is absolutely no way. And if you're really freaking out about what's going to happen, this is what I would eventually have to do for myself. All right, so what if it is nothing? What if everybody's wrong and we just die and we die? Everything, consciousness dies. There is no more us. We don't exist. It's very similar to what we know as before we were born. Nothing. Okay, so part of you kind of might feel pissed. I know I did. First I was like, well, I don't want that. I don't want to just not exist. I'm important. um, I don't know. So once I kind of went to that place, it was like, all right, what am I going to do? Who am I going to fight about it? I can't speak to a manager about it. It is what it is. What are you going to do? So, I just eventually kind of just began to start accepting it. My husband was helpful because he had a very practical point of view about it. Like, we're all going to die. It makes no sense to be afraid. And the more these conversations would come up because of whatever was going on, eventually I sort of just began to accept it. And it's at the point now I can make a video talking about this sort of stuff. And I don't become emotional. Before I used to have like serious anxiety, and when I mean for real anxiety around the topic of death. Anybody's death, my own people I care about, I don't want to talk about it. So yeah, I'm past that point, obviously. Um, I believe that when we do pass on, human consciousness, we won't really experience human consciousness. We, the souls, are spirits. I've thought about this. and what I'm willing to accept. I just have a hard time believing the energy that moves on, our souls that move on, keep all the petty human emotions, all that sort of stuff. Uh, I think you transcend. It's your higher self, your higher spirit, uh, which is why I don't believe there's a hell, because those who did bad things and were, evil and horrible, yes, your Hitlers and your serial killers and your child rapists, yes, all of those, I guess I'm talking about those. Um, those souls transcend. Now, punishment for that and death, I'm comfortable not knowing. I'm comfortable. I'm not comfortable with the concept of a hell or some version of hell in the afterlife. I think it's bigger than that, and I also don't think the universe is made that way, good and bad. For me, when I look into science, when you look into physics, when you look into astronomy, um, there is no good and bad. There's just things. There's systems. There's energy. The physics that's involved and all this other stuff. Yes, some things bang into us or things are destroyed. Maybe something new comes out of it. Um, there's no good and bad. So I think that's a human way of looking at things. So if there's no good and bad, and our energy sort of moves forward or transcends, I don't think there's a punishment for your soul. So, yeah, I'm comfortable with thinking this way. I know maybe somebody else is not comfortable with it. I am. This is how in my mind, how I think afterlife. When I communicate with my ancestors, I go into a space on another plane that is not here and on Earth. It's some space, and I don't see anything. It's all darkness, and I just see shadows, like hooded shadows of these people that I know are my ancestors. And I hear sounds. I don't smell sometimes, but mostly sounds. I feel the temperature, and it's usually cold. Um, and yeah, I hear crackling of fire. There's this cauldron-like thing, and within that, information is given to me. Whether it's I'm looking into and I see just dark liquid, or whether it's something being given to me to drink, or sometimes just to sit there and images and things like that come into my head. And these things are to be true. They'll give me an image, I'll ask a question, and what they said comes true. Um, that's enough for me. So that right there, that's for my human mind to construct, to be able to communicate. But that doesn't mean that's what's really happened. And it doesn't matter, because if you work with spirits who have passed on and your experience is totally different, they're standing in front of you. You see a vision, in front of you in your waking hours. I'm not going to invalidate that. That's your experience. If you don't see anything, but you hear words, you hear this, you're communicating. That's something different. If it's only in a dream for you, or it's only through a use of a tool like divination or tarot cards or whatever, cool, that's great. Or if you don't hear anything, you don't have any communication, and you've tried, keep working at it. You'd be surprised. I wouldn't say don't give up, keep working at it. But yeah, I think the consciousness that we have as humans, I don't get that type of feedback from them, which is why I think the feedback I get from them, the communication I get from them, is more vague. It's not how I'm just talking right now, because I don't think they have human consciousness anymore. They're a different type of entity now. Um, so yeah, they're not going to communicate the way they did when they were flesh and bones. So that's my thought on that. And then I have one more kind of out there concept, and this is over the last few years I've kind of thought this out. Again, remember when this plane realm that I go to when I communicate with my ancestors, I said figures. I just see them, and I feel like they're numbered. Like there's a lot more going on around in the back, but I only see just what's there. But there's a lot more hanging around or standing around. Um, for me, I believe they're a collective, meaning I think after a period of time, that energy or spirits are part of an overall collective as opposed to an individual spirit that you're communicating with. So when I say ancestors, I mean ancestors. I mean, I'm communicating with just the collective. Now, this gets tricky because when, somebody's loved one passes on, I understand some beliefs is that you wait a year or months or a few months or something like that before you try to communicate with them or put them on your altar. Not communicate with them, I'm wrong. Put them on your altar and, accept them as ancestor in the ancestral realm. I think they'll come to you once they've reached that space, that place, that realm. Like I said, I think there's levels to it, and maybe that transition doesn't necessarily happen like that, where they're part of the collective. No, I don't believe there's a purgatory, but I don't know what that process is. Maybe they're a part of it, but their energy isn't strong enough yet to be, part. Um, to show you them individually. That energy just goes up to be part of the collective. I don't know if there's a way for them to individually communicate with you. Um, if they do, and I've thought about this because I think about my aunt who passed away many years ago. She came to me right after she died. Then I never heard from her again for years. And then I was able to hear from her again. And that made me wonder also, is there fate, are there levels or things they have to go through before they're part of the ancestral realm? And I really think that's the case. I really do. And for the family members that I've communicated with, it had been years after they died that I communicated with them. Not like a couple weeks later or a couple months after they passed on. In my aunt's situation, it had been days, and I think like a couple days. And I was there when she actually died, so I think that there was some sort of connection there with her spirit. So I was able to have that experience with her. Um, Again, I question. I don't question, but I don't think that I think there's something that happens where you can't necessarily communicate with them right away. That's what I think. Just going off my own experience and other people's experience, and again, I think it really depends on the path that you follow, and how you kind of want to reconcile all this. But this is what I believe as far as my afterlife. And yeah, this collective I'm talking about, I don't think it's a heaven, by the way. I don't think it's a heaven, and I also don't think their whole purpose is to serve me. I don't think their whole purpose is to be petitioned and my spell work and to work with me. I do not think that's their entire purpose, which is why I think having an ancestor altar is a good thing to just go and sit quietly and be gracious and give thanks to their contributions to, their existence, not asking for something. Yeah, so those are kind of my kooky ideas on the afterlife, and I'm more than comfortable with this. It took years. I'm a full-grown adult now, and I was a full-grown adult at one point, and I literally had no concept that I was ready to accept about death, and I had, these, I want to say more than a decade or so. Yeah, uh, I felt comfortable with this, what I believe now. And who knows? And the longer I live, the more exposure I'll have, the more experiences I'll have, and this may change. I may change my philosophy altogether. Hey, for all I know, we just become plant food, and that's it. Either way, I'm not afraid. Either way, I have reconciled what I'm comfortable with believing, and I will live my life to the fullest while I have life, while this life as I know it. I will continue to do me and live my best life, because I've reconciled the afterlife and death. I've figured it all out. And that's all you have to do for yourself. Figure it all out. It doesn't matter what I say, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. What do you think? What have you figured out for yourself? Take that and then just live your life. You don't have to think about it all the time. We really only think about this when we are close to death, when somebody we know is dying, or if you know, are sick and there's the threat of death. Otherwise, we don't really even, most of us are not consumed with these thoughts um, in our day to day, right? Normally. So when those times come up, you have something in mind. You know what you know to be true for you. And yeah, that's all we can do. So I'm Mika, this is Leap Taken. Thank you for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you have not, please. And if you have subscribed, thank you very much. All right, bye.